from dominating the Lakers in the 2023 playoffs to being a firm fixture in MVP discussions. Here's why Nikola Jokic is the next big thing in the NBA. I mean, do you really need more proof after what he did to the Lakers in the 2023 playoffs? This man is a beast. The playoffs in 2023 were just so entertaining, and the Nuggets, led by Jokic, were the stars of the show, who destroyed every team on their way to the conference finals, playing some fantastic b-ball. In the conference finals, you'd think that the #1 seed in the West would be the favorite, but as it turns out, the Lakers were the team everyone was backing to come through. Let's only consider the first 3 games of that series for now. Jokic did everything that you'd expect him to do. He went off in Game 1, showcasing the Lakers that if he really wants to score on their defense, which, by the way, was the best of that season ever since they let go of Russell Westbrook, he'll do so very comfortably. Anthony Davis was fresh off some fantastic defensive clinic in those conference finals, but there was nothing he could do to shut the Joker down. How do you defend someone who can make shots in the most unorthodox way possible? What killed the Lakers' spirit was how Jokic's influence went beyond scoring. They had no reply to his fantastic playmaking and how he'd rise up to the task defensively as well. But honestly, this is something that Jokic has been doing throughout his career. So why then are we looking at the 2023 playoffs as a point of reference? Allow me to explain. Jokic was supposed to be the next big thing in the NBA when the world finally saw him ball for the first time. Think about it. This man wasn't even a first-round pick, going as the 41st overall when the Nuggets picked him. His performances had earned him a spot on the Rookie of the Year team, and everyone knew that there was something about this fella that made him stand out from every other player out there. He was taller than most centers, yet more creative than most point guards as well. This triple threat ability, along with his scoring, allowed him to dominate the NBA with relative ease. I mean, someone who wins back-to-back MVPs should not be taken lightly, and Jokic certainly wasn't. But there was this narrative around him that the Joker can't do any of it on the big stage, how he ends up choking in the playoffs. And as good as he is, he won't be considered an all-time great because of his failure to show up in the postseason. Once again, though, what no one realized was how Jokic played with a depleted Nuggets side almost every postseason after multiple injuries to their best players. The 1 year Denver managed to stay injury-free, they destroyed the Kevin Durant-led Phoenix's super team, and the way they performed against LeBron's Lakers was scary. So, in a way, that playoff run is what made Jokic the next big thing in the NBA, because he got that playoff pedigree. Somehow, though, he'd still been disrespected in the 2022-23 season. Yeah, can you imagine that a player who scores freely, coming up with nearly 25 points per night, double figures for rebounds, and almost 10 assists, gets denied the chance to win his 3rd straight MVP? Well, Jokic doesn't need to imagine, because it really happened to him in 2023. He'd done everything right. More importantly, he'd also beaten the allegations of stat padding, choosing to sit out of the entire run-in when he easily could have stat padded his way to a triple-double, something that only 2 players have ever achieved in a full NBA season. Although, his team had already earned the 1st seed in the Wild Wild West that year, and the Serb just couldn't be bothered about individual awards. In a way, it wouldn't be wrong to say that he let Joel Embiid win that award after he'd missed out for 2 consecutive years. But that's also another reason why Nikola is unlike any other player the NBA has ever seen. Individual awards don't mean a lot to him, or basically anything that other players would kill for. All he wants to do is play basketball, like it's some casual, fun thing. I mean, have you seen some of the shots he takes and makes? They are not casual. Not to mention, he's a decent 3-point shooter. Klay Thompson and his splash sibling, Steph Curry, are sitting somewhere in Cancun, thinking about how they've spent their entire lifetimes practicing the perfect form for a 3. And here, a Serbian just lets it fly in the most unusual manner ever, while being super effective. That's the Joker effect. He's insanely good, and it never looks like he's giving his all. Fact is, he's never needed to. Maybe Luka Doncic was right, you know? Scoring and being a better individual player is much easier in the NBA, because the league and the officials definitely get mad over how Jokic goes about his business. They'd hate that someone like Embiid is giving his all every night. And on the other hand, you've got this Serbian anomaly, who just smiles his way to a triple-double without breaking a sweat. It must be infuriating, but I have to agree with what Michael Malone, the Nuggets coach, said about him. Malone's been asking for the NBA to put some respect on his superstar's name, and he's spot on. Jokic gets disrespected and overlooked way too often for someone who's dominating the league. He's a two-time MVP, and if I'm being perfectly honest, he's just getting started. Malone wanted his side to get more credit during their 2023 playoffs with the Lakers, and he wanted Jokic to be acknowledged just as much as LeBron James that year. Of course, there's no comparison to be made if you take into account their entire careers, but the King's career is coming to an end, while Joker's playing like in his prime. He's by far the better player, and his domination of the LeBron-led Lakers tells you all you need to know. A 3-0 lead over a LeBron side is as good as a sweep, if we're being honest. The last team to do it were the Golden State Warriors, under Kevin Durant's leadership in the finals, and we all know how poor that Cleveland Cavaliers roster was in 2018. In 2023, the Lakers were the 7th seed, yes, but they had an extraordinary roster. They had Anthony Davis lining up alongside LeBron James, and some fantastic role players, like Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, and many more. This was a team that shouldn't have made the playoffs. But once they did, they dispatched the second-seeded Memphis Grizzlies and the defending champions Golden State Warriors pretty easily. So for them to get swept by the Nuggets is all down to Jokic being unstoppable. He was on a different level altogether, if I'm being unbiased. Of course, he has some shortcomings defensively, but when he's got help from the rest of his teammates, he can do a great job on the defensive end too. As far as the other end is concerned, Jokic was the reason why Jamal Murray caught fire. He was feeding him continuously, along with the rest of the roster, while also pulling up with big shots every now and then. At the end of the day, all Jokic needed was a fully fit roster. And now that he has it, we're going to see the best of the two-time MVP. Oh yeah, don't get it twisted for 1 minute. If you thought Jokic was dangerous before, wait till you see him with a proper supporting cast around him. Don't forget, this is the same dude that got a patchy Denver side to the playoffs with zero help. Only the likes of LeBron James and other greats can claim to do that, and Jokic belongs in that company for sure. From the outside looking in, it's become increasingly obvious that the Nuggets are going to be a big headache for the West for years to come. And all that is because of this Serbian. But along with the West, the NBA voters are also facing a massive problem. How do they keep denying Jokic the MVP award? I agree that Joel Embiid's run was simply fantastic. The 2-season MVP run from Giannis Antetokounmpo was even better. In Jokic, though, you've got someone who didn't need to play out of his skin to win those awards. And given how he plays the game, he's going to remain a firm fixture in every MVP discussion, for as long as he's playing in the NBA. That's the biggest sign of a player who's destined to be the next big thing. But the problem here is, he's not the next big thing, he's the present big thing. If the athlete can add a couple of championships to his resume, he'll also earn himself a seat on the all-time greats table. And that's when the other ex-players will also start taking note. He's in the top 2 right now, and all I know is, he ain't second. So from being a regular in MVP discussions, to dominating LeBron and the Lakers in the 2023 playoffs, that was why Nikola Jokic is the next big thing in the NBA.